Hey everyone, we're gonna jump right in today because we got something breaking as we speak, and this will be a good one. Here we go. So we'll call it the 9th. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, December 9th, 2021.
I'm Michael Agello, and I'm not in Buffalo.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world, whether you're in Kaminsky's in South Jersey or Pete's Pizzas in Calgary. You can watch us. We'll be there. All right. We're going to start with this because this is breaking news. And I was holding off, hoping no one would mention it, but I think it's already out there on Twitter. But I was trying to think we could break the news on the podcast because it came at like 12:59. But it does appear that Jimmy Rutherford is going to be the next GM of the Vancouver Canucks officially. And this is going to be
now. Is it general manager or is it team president? Because that's where the Rutherford thing was sort of out there. It was funny because the TSN insiders said that the stock was rising on the guy that I mentioned, which was Lawrence Gilman, the assistant GM of the Leafs. But the question was, if Rutherford was the choice, would he be a team president? And the name that they mentioned in terms of a GM would be Eric Tulsky, who's with Carolina now. And Russ and I were talking about this, and Russ, you say what you said to me about Tulsky.
Oh, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what I said.
You said you'd be surprised if Tom Dunn didn't let him go.
Oh, yes, that part of it. That's right. I did say that because, again, I don't think Tom Lennon will let him go for nothing. I don't.
Right. Give me 1 second. I got to fix something.
That's just his way. It's just the business way. I think he will ask for a draft pick, and it will be up to the Canucks whether they do that.
Yeah, but that's not legal anymore. Remember, the compensation for coaches and GMs are not legal anymore. I mean, they can deny.
They'll just deny it then, and then
right.
Maybe they'll have to work out a trade to offset that. Who knows?
My source, my first source on this, and this is just the first source, so I'm not gonna I wouldn't go with this as gold or anything like that.
Okay.
Is that it's for both positions.
Okay.
And, I think that is likely what you would have to do to get Rutherford. I think at this point.
So you're giving Rutherford complete control.
Well, what you're doing is, I mean, honestly, he has complete control no matter what position you put him in, right? Because he's Rutherford. Yeah, so it's like you can look at it a lot of different ways. But to be honest, I think that this is more or less this just takes that out of this just makes that absolutely official. But it's the truth no matter what. I mean, if he's president and has a puppet GM in there, that's one thing. If he's GM and then he has a puppet president in there, in my mind. So it's like no matter how you slice it, presidents. There are presidents in the NHL is the most ambiguous position of any position still. Well, like we have presidents now that are basically super GMs, and we have presidents that don't do anything at all.
Right. It's a layer. It's an additional layer of or stratification of maybe BS is a too harsh of a term, but I mean, really, it's like, I mean, okay, what is Jeff Gorton in Montreal? Well, he's team president because he can't be general manager because he's not French.
Right.
So if they hire, and I can't remember his name, but there was a Boston-based agent that I think was Pierre LeBrun or Elliot Friedman indicated was the leading candidate for the Habs job. Who Gorton knows from Boston, but he was originally born in Montreal and he's bilingual.
Right.
Okay. And this guy's never been a manager in the NHL. So it's not a puppet in the sense that he's not going to have any authority, but we know that Gorton is going to run the show.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that Gorton will run the show. He wasn't going to come in there and not do that. Yeah. I mean, that's for sure. But again, it's no different than we've seen this kind of set up before. Like JD had a lot of power in Columbus when he was there.
Yeah.
And then even with the Rangers had more power than what the president title suggests.
Yeah.
So we've seen that. The
issue
that I have with this hire is how much runway do you think you have with Jim Rutherford? That's the issue.
Well, I was going to say you should be, and I should be, and we all should be very happy that Jim Rutherford is a general manager in this league because the trade deadline is going to be a sideshow because he's going to make moves.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no question about it. He's going to make moves. He's 100% trader. Trader Jim, as they call him. He doesn't just make moves. He makes really good hockey moves, which are fun. It's not just like he's going to trade for a first-round draft pick or future considerations. He moves players
They're going to
around.
have to balance that with the cap. Like he's more cap strapped with this team than he was with his last team, the Penguins, to try and make moves.
I don't know.
Until the end.
I was going to say, Russ.
Pretty cash strapped.
Not at the beginning. Not at the beginning they weren't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he is cash strapped, but he's also super creative. So he's one of those guys that's
a guy who the cap doesn't really mean much to him in terms of making the impact. I mean, he's got to conform to the cap, but okay, he brings in Mike Matheson. He swaps Hornquist for Mike, and I don't think that was a good deal, but he did it. It
wasn't a good deal. In retrospect, it was a terrible deal.
Yeah, he brings in Jason Zucker from Minnesota.
He's going to be forced into deals like that. Right, because they're not going to rebuild or reset. So these are the kinds of deals he's going to have to make, and there's no guarantee that's going to make the franchise any better.
Right, there's none. And
if it's an uncapped world, sure, Rutherford would make a massive difference, but
I mean, it's an interesting market in a lot of ways. It always has been, as far as the fans go. There's a lot of different opinions.
Oh, of course, yes.
And it's a kind of place that. Benning has had to learn to negotiate that to a degree. That's not really the word I'm looking for. And navigate that to a degree. But I think that's something that we're gonna see. We're gonna see how Rutherford can do. Rutherford's very different. He's got a lot more of I don't care what you think type of stuff that Benning has. Benning definitely cared what people thought.
It's very interesting the direction that the Canucks have gone from a first-time NHL head coach and a general manager who you really didn't know where his level of expertise was. I mean, we knew Benning was good at talent recognition in the draft, but I think throughout his career in Vancouver, his trades and his free agent signings were abysmal. Now they go to a veteran coach like Boudreau, who now is 2-0, who what you're going to get out of him. He's going to squeeze every last drop out of the lemon of the talent on that team. He's a good motivator, and it's already seemed to turn around. Although this could be a bounce, but Rutherford doesn't suffer any fools. He goes in and he analyzes the team, and then he attacks it, and that's what he's going to do. And honestly, I don't think he's going to give a good goddamn what the Vancouver media think. He's going to do what he wants.
And also, he has the ability to do that in hockey because he's won, and because people, look at him like he's a guy who's won before. So when a hockey guy comes in that's won, he always has a lot more leadway. They always think, okay, he's going to, he can do what he wants to. He's going to have a nice honeymoon period in Vancouver to get things going here. And I think he'll make some. I think we will see some really fascinating moves. I mean, there's no question that when you look at the the two teams that fired their coach on the same day in Vancouver and Philly, what you've seen with Boudreau, what Boudreau has brought to Vancouver versus what Yo's brought to Philly. There's a huge difference there. And watching the Flyers game last night after our podcast, which I did, we had a fun podcast last night on the Rockology podcast last night.
It was great.
Definitely should check out on sportsology.com. But
actually not at sportsology.com. Just go to my SoundCloud, Russ Cohen SoundCloud.
Go to Russ Cohen SoundCloud. Okay, yeah, and that's where you can check it out. And it was really fun. We talked about
I did leave it on your channel, on your YouTube channel for people to watch, just for a little while, so people can view it.
Cool, perfect. That's fine. So yeah, I think that the way this all plays out, I think what we're going to see now is, I think it does bear mentioning, if we're done talking about Vancouver and what Rutherford's going to do, which we don't have to be, but we do want to get into Philadelphia after watching that game last night.
Sure, but the last thing I'll say about Vancouver is, look, someone like Besser now is guaranteed to get traded, and
maybe a JT Miller too, because he's got a year left and he's got value, and
this is problematic for me because Pedersen's been up and down this year. You're not going to trade him though based on his future value. You're going to trade these two guys because you don't have deals with them. You're going to be keeping worse guys because you can't get rid of the deals like Ekman Larson or whatever. And honestly, JT Miller, even though he is worth a lot to a team, you're still not going to get as much value for JT Miller as you'd like.
No,
Like
No.
this is one where I'm afraid Rutherford is going to get a lot of pieces and try and show the fan base, hey, look at all the, look at all these things I got for JT Miller and Brock Besser. But in the end, I don't know if he's going to get even close to enough value for those two guys.
Well, okay. There's three guys up front. Besser and Bo Horvat have a year left. Besser is up after this year. Bo Horvat and JT Miller have another year. So now you could say, well, if you trade those guys, you're gutting the team. Well, you're gutting a team that has underachieved. It depends on what you get back for them. That's where Rutherford, can you win those trades? Can you get players that are less expensive or will have more of an impact? I don't know, but that's what he has to determine.
I would trade the two and keep Horvat and extend them, honestly.
Well, I think they're going to try to extend them. That's the whole question here, Russ, is whether.
But they're not going to be able to extend Besser because he's going to want top dollar, and
right.
They can't afford that.
But they'll probably only be able to afford one of Horvat or Miller, and it's going to be okay. Which one of you is going to take the $6 million 5-year deal? And if neither one of them do, then you're going to probably end up trading both of them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and he will make those kind of moves for sure. But he also, you have a really good. You've got a lot of experience between the coach and the GM now in that city, and you have a lot of, they do know how to build teams. You're looking at a coach that really, I think, is an outstanding coach in Boudreau. I don't care about the Game 7 jinx at all. It doesn't mean anything to me. I think it's ridiculous. I really do. I mean, I think if a coach gets, just a coach who loses a lot of Game 7s, in my opinion, is a coach that got you to a lot of Game 7s, which is like, that to me is, that's what you want. I mean, you want to be in games, you want to be in that situation where you have a chance to win it. And, he's at that point, the players, it's up to the players to win those games. I mean, that's the reality is like, he can't coach, GM's not going to win those games. So I'm really liking what he's already doing. He's already putting like some, I like the fact he's coached superstars before, and I think that Elias Pettersson's going to get something out of that. I think that's going to be big for what, and already you're seeing it. I think in Vancouver, you're already seeing that adjustment. So yeah, I like where they're going a lot. As far as Philly goes, it's another story because last night was really another one of those detrimental games towards a team's psyche and a fan base that's just had enough,
You thought that was a bad game, Rick?
Yeah, I think so. Getting shut out by the Devils is, it's more than just a bad game. It's actually like it's a team you just, they're a team the Flyers believed they were ahead of,
Well, they could believe that.
Yeah, and a lot of people believed they were ahead of the Devils, but I think at the same time they're not. And
they should have beaten them on general principle wearing those hideous jerseys.
Yeah, I don't even want. Yeah, that's like, yeah. And why are they doing that? Like in a game like that, like I'm not saying
why they're doing that because they knew they would get maximum impact.
I understand.
They knew they would get Flyers fans saying they hate them and Devils fans saying they love them because they're going against Flyers fans. That's an easy one.
Yeah, the next time New Jersey is at Wells Fargo, Gritty will be wiping his ass with that jersey. That's what will end up happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, all right. So to me, shoot, sorry. Let it go. I apologize. I'm on high alert right here because of the Rutherford thing. I'm going to turn my phone down. All right, so yeah.
I didn't want to break this thing down. I got it all in my head.
Let's break down the Flyers thing, where we're at right now, because this is an obvious team. Like right now, their next two games, they're going on the road. They're going out to Vegas tomorrow and Arizona on Saturday.
All right, so let's start with management. So the biggest mistake of management, and I think we're going on 4 or 5 days, is they haven't hired a new coach. So the latest in the coaching carousel for the just being an assistant, the defensive coach is Nick Schultz. Again, good guy, doesn't have the experience.
No.
I said on another show, this isn't Jeopardy where you're just going to replace host and guest host it. These games mean something, and every time you're not bringing in another voice from the outside that could help, you're losing points in a very tough division. And so this is a failure of Chuck Fletcher not being able to bring somebody in, even on a part-time basis, just for the rest of the year, to fill this vacancy.
Yeah.
And he should have had somebody already in mind.
Yeah, and I mean, there's to me, I don't get the not bringing Tocchet in. I've told you that many times. I think that they are talking to Tocchet.
He's not going to rush in either. He's got a nice job where he's at.
Yeah, an okay job, but Tocchet, if Tocchet's given the chance to coach the Flyers, he'll get out. I mean that's something that having talked to him in the past and knowing him,
right? So okay,
that's a dream position for him.
But does Tocchet want Fletcher as his GM? He may not.
Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily a choice you get, right? So,
well, but maybe he's asking for that because again, here's what I have found when, and this is in any sport, when you have a coach that goes into the media or back into the media, however they have done their career. Usually it's first time in the media. Usually when you get a coach that does it, they get paid pretty much on par with what they're going to make as a coach. So usually it's not salary based why they jump back into a sport if they do it. It's for power. It's usually the other side of it and how much control they can have, because right now he doesn't have to answer to anybody on the panel of TNT other than a producer. If he goes there and risks putting his coaching career on the line with coaching a team like the Flyers, he's going to want to make sure it's to his benefit. He's not going to let Comcast call the shots on this.
And he's going to want to put together his own staff.
Correct.
And that might be something that Fletcher pushes back on. I mean, he doesn't want to take Mike Yeo on as an assistant.
Right. I mean, that is possible, but you can't bring in your own staff right away. We've seen it happen before where coaches generally, there's a transitional period there, where, you would bring in his staff as the year goes on or in the off season, but to get the different head coach in there preaching something, to get a better effort out of a team last night that really, really looks like they're waiting for the other coach to come,
I think it's more than that. I don't think they're waiting for the next coach. I think when you had certain personnel that you had set up for that 2-1-2 or dump and chase kind of team,
right?
And now you're trying to play puck possession hockey. You don't have all the right players in place. So it's going to take a long time to get this team turned around to where they're playing that. And how many games are you going to lose in the process? And will Mike Yeo even be there in the end? I think Mike Yeo already looks tired to me on camera. Like, I feel bad. He is trying to meet with all the players. He's trying to change the system. No human can do what was left for Mike Yeo on their own without having this other person who should be coming in that has a lot of experience.
Well, and also, yeah, you're right. And the reality is this, like, Mike Yeo is not going to get pissed off at these guys like he has to. I mean, in my opinion, because Boudreau is going to go in there and he's going to, drop 100,000 F-bombs like we've seen him do before. Yes. And he's going to make these guys fear for their lives. Still be a good guy, but make them realize the importance of the brevity of the situation, I should say. But the reality is, Yeo was the assistant coach that the players most liked. He was the assistant coach that he was the good guy in the good cop bad cop.
They liked him because they could continue to play the way they were playing, and he's not going to give enough pushback.
No, but even when he was the assistant, he was the good cop in the bad cop, good cop Terrian world, right?
But the problem is with that, Ek, is that once that guy is leading, once he is now the coach, he can't be the good guy anymore, and they tune him out.
Right. So, what happened to in Washington? It's exactly what happened in Washington.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And then they had to bring in Laviolette as a result.
You're right.
Now,
the situation is, and also the fact of the matter is, the pressure that's on Carter Hart right now is ridiculous. And
you saw it on that third, what should have been the third goal, not the one that was called back. That's fine. The one that went through his legs, he didn't know it went through his legs, and it seemed like Ivan Provorov was the only guy on the ice that realized it was on the line, so he knocked it out. But that was a third goal.
Yeah, I think and he knows now that he's got to win every game because of the backup situation, and he's got to, and it's just ridiculous. I mean that what that's doing to him is very unhealthy.
It's official on Rutherford, by the way.
Yeah, it's official, right? So is he the GM and president? We'll find out, but
let me just.
I heard it was.
While you're looking that up, let me just say this, and I don't say this with any particular. I don't say this with any particular glee, but you look at the standings right now, and you look at the Flyers at 20 points, with 24 games played, and you look at the Islanders, who are 3 points behind them that have played 3 less games. So essentially, they're in the same spot.
Yes,
and if we're saying, and we have said over the last few days, that the Islanders have little or no chance of climbing back into this race and making the playoffs, then you have to draw that goes for the Flyers.
Oh, the Flyers are in that same boat. There's no question, and that's why, again, someone like Tocchet might say, "Hey, call me at the end of the year." He may not want to come into this mess. Because here's the debate. Here's a debate.
Talking to my sources, I just don't get that impression. I really don't get the impression that Tocchet.
If he's being asked, he can come tomorrow, but he's still not here. So either they're not
asked you now, and I don't think you're wrong in saying that there are certain demands he has, but I don't think at the same time I don't think that we're looking at like drop dead demands necessarily. All
right, so let's bring this up.
Yeah.
So it's possible, because I've had conversations with different people, that Brent Flair really isn't in charge of Lehigh. And if it's Chuck that's in charge of Lehigh and the Flyers, and Brent Flair really just does player personnel and all your player development and all of your amateur stuff, then they're a position down for that. They're a position down on the bench.
Yep.
Why would Rick Tocchet take this job?
Because it's the Flyers and Rick Tocchet wants to.
You see, the Flyers is nice, and everybody has a certain.
This is his chance.
Everybody has a certain loyalty, but nobody like a Rick Tocchet who has some experience is going to walk into a job that has these things working against you, that there's no way they're going to be able to fix all of them before you get there. There's no way.
I'll tell you.
He's coming out of Arizona, which was just like such.
I know, but he just
but I think his reputation was bolstered by what he did in Arizona, because he got a lot out of a team that had little or no talent.
He got the Tippett bump on that.
Right, but I honestly think this: if you want to get him now, if you want it to, if Russ is right and he says, okay, well, contact me at the end of the year and I'll start fresh next year. Okay, if you want him right now, then you're going to have to give him more term on a deal. It'll have to be 5 or 6 years.
Yes, I do think that's true, and I think that's what is keeping it from happening as of today. Like, because here's the thing: I was told that that they thought they were going to give Yo a couple games to see if he could do something, but I don't think that. I think that's getting shorter and shorter, and I think you're going to see Yo with like 2 more games basically to get.
Yeah, I think that's it too.
And then if that, I mean, and one of those games is Arizona, so that should be a win.
Okay, so here's a crazy thing. I would play Carter Hart against Arizona, and I would play Jones against Vegas because I need the points.
Yeah, that's not a crazy idea. I mean, I don't disagree with that in some ways right now, because you are so desperate. I mean, they've lost 10 in a row. I mean, they are they're 10 games below 500 or something like that, some crazy. I mean, they really are in a spot right now where
they're in a horrible spot, and they're in a cavern right now. And the problem is the youngsters in Lehigh can't dig them out of it. Just picking up Kevin Connaughton's not going to dig him out of it.
They are 8-12-4 right now.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, to me, that's 8. Yeah, it's 8
and 16 losses.
And 10 in a row. So I mean, you're looking at a team that was in a playoff spot before that. 10 losses in a row.
And there's other issues here too, X. So okay, if the team doesn't get turned around, and odds are that it's going to be hard to, Ristolainen is not re-signing there. He's not. A month ago he may have. Now he's probably not. So now you have to recoup what Chuck gave up for him, which is a lot. Like, he gave up a lot for him.
Yeah.
So now you got to worry about that. You're going to have to trade Justin Braun, because, again, why would you keep him? He's not necessarily – all you've been doing is putting a Band-Aid on your defense anyhow with him.
Right.
He's good. He's not great. So those two are going to get traded no matter what. And then JVR, unless you eat half his contract, you can't trade him.
I think they can recoup a first-round pick for Ristolainen and a big right-handed defenseman who's tough. I think they could get that. But they're not going to get – it was
like a low first round. It's going to be like a 26, 27, 28.
I agree, but the pick that they traded was in the middle of the first round.
And part of the fact that they gave up so much for him,
So you lose on that, Mike. That's my point.
Right. Oh, yeah. They're definitely losing because you gave up Hogg, and Hogg is a
that might end up making them overpay to keep him. And I think that, I
It's
don't think
possible, but then you just kicking your future cap problem down the hall too.
But the problem with that, Eck, is that you're getting into like territory of some other teams that are in cap trouble when you have three $6 million plus defensemen, and
right.
We talked about this on the off the post with Bill Meltzer, and I what I said was if you sign Ristolainen, you're more than likely going to have to trade Sanheim because you won't have the room to be able to sign three $6 million plus defensemen and have the luxury of having another defenseman at 3.5.
That's a good point.
Right.
Sanheim is not having a good enough year that you would get max value for him right now.
It's not about max value, Russ. It's about cap management, and you have to move him if you're going to sign that guy.
Okay, but all right. So now you're telling me I'm going to keep Ristolainen, who is strong and he's a decent skater, but he's nowhere near the skater Sanheim is, and he's nowhere the puck mover is. I'm going to have to get rid of the younger, more potentially dynamic puck mover, even though he's not going to be a big time scorer.
Right.
I don't know. I think
that's why you probably trade Ristolainen and recoup as much as possible. And
even Kermit doesn't like the idea of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
go find Miss Piggy. Go find Miss Piggy.
Sure.
Okay, now we got to talk about this.
Be a fourth liner on that team.
We've buried the lead because all I know is that I think the hockey world last night when I don't know if it was Katie Strang who broke it, maybe it was Craig Morgan, but when it came out that the Arizona Coyotes, that a lien was placed on them and that the doors will be shut on them on December 23rd if they don't pay over $1 million in back taxes. I just have to say, this franchise is a friggin' joke. They really are.
They paid it today.
Shocking.
I know. The interesting thing about this is I don't believe they paid it. And we all know who they didn't pay it, who paid it. And the other thing is, I don't believe their excuse because this was for all of 21-22. There's no way you could go into a meeting, in a corporate meeting, in a big corporation like this, do your taxes and not know you didn't pay taxes at your facility for an entire year. So that's a baloney.
What this was, and I think when this came up previously, I said this was exactly what they were trying to do. What they were trying to do is they were trying to do a Trump. They're basically trying to, okay, well, we owe $1.3 million, but we'll pay it right now if we can pay you $650,000, like 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
It doesn't work that way with municipalities. They're gonna put the padlocks on your friggin' building, you idiots. This is I'm so irked about this organization and how they make the NHL look. They make the NHL look like a clown car with this 30-second with this franchise. A expansion franchise is run better than the Arizona Coyotes have been the last dozen years. They're a scourge on this league.
It's true. My thing's acting funky. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What was funky?
Sorry, I'm getting weird internet over here. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I heard everything Mike said. I do think that, we don't know who paid it. You might be right. The NHL may have paid it. But at the same time, this is something that we knew it would get paid.
Of course it was going to get paid.
The whole point of the release last night, was to embarrass the Coyotes to get them to pay.
Right. And that's the now remember, this is the municipalities do like to lock people out, but they also don't. There's a lot more to it when you come to a situation like this where you have people's jobs and all different sorts of things.
They like to get paid too. That would be nice.
Well, but again, they floated it. The municipality floated it during the summer that they hadn't paid up to that point. And if you don't think anybody in the Coyotes didn't know they hadn't paid up to that point, then you're crazier than me.
This is not the first time we heard about this.
No.
So we heard about this before the season when we heard this was the last year at Gila River Arena. We heard, there was a tax situation that they owed the city money. So this didn't pop up out of like thin air. This is something that's been looming over them. And it got to the point where now they have a deadline of December 20th. Okay, now they paid it, but it's an embarrassment.
Right. No, for sure. I agree.
Oh, now they're not getting locked out, but you know what? There's no talk of it. When are they going to pay this year's taxes? They only paid last year's taxes.
We lost Dak.
Yeah. So anyhow, I mean, so we'll get off it, but the idea is this is not a situation that's going away. I will tell you, I don't think this deal in Tempe is going to happen.
Nope.
I think this has probably hurt their reputation with that deal because, again, if I'm setting up that deal and I see that this is all transpired, I think they're going to be a little nervous about raising all these funds. We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
I just think that it wasn't coincidental that the Houston story, which was quickly quashed.
Oh, the other thing is too, Morgan pointed out that no, it wasn't Morgan. You know who it was?
It was probably Katie Strang.
No, Rick Westhead pointed out. Yeah, he pointed out that TV viewership is down 29% in that market.
Yes.
So for all the talk about that being a great TV market, that has eroded too.
Well, okay, it's a big TV market. That's the thing. It's a big TV market. It's
a potentially big TV market.
No. I'm saying in terms of population, in terms of it's like the fifth or sixth biggest city in the U.S.
It doesn't mean it pulls the ratings though.
Well, no. I mean, if you look, I think in that same article that tweet that Westhead sent out, the four bottom TV markets in the NHL are all in big municipalities. It's Anaheim, L.A., Phoenix, and New Jersey. So those are the four worst in terms of ratings. So, and Funky's like, yeah, they'll sign their hometown boy Matthews as a UFA. They won't be in Arizona when he becomes a UFA. And I don't think Austin Matthews is going to a team that is basically run themselves into the friggin' ground. So give me a break on that.
No, that's he'll go there when he's 35 to play golf and nothing else.
Right.
So anyhow, moving on. Another interesting thing. Well, actually, talk about you're in Toronto, and so there has to be a lot of Olympic talk where you are.
Well, yeah, not Austin Matthews. So John Tavares was asked about the fact that he's playing against the guy who is the Olympic coach, John Cooper, tonight, and does that give him extra motivation to sort of show off his wares? So, and Tavares isn't going to jump at that question.
No.
He's like, okay, well, I'm just approaching this as I'm playing Tampa and we've got to win this game, and I'm invested in winning games as a Maple Leaf, and that's the right answer. But in the back of their minds, you've got to think that these guys are saying, oh, I'm playing Tampa, and Cooper's a guy who's going to be in the inner sanctum of the Canadian Olympic team, and who's going to be selected. So
I think there's going to be a lot of scouts there, though, that the ones that are help putting together Team Canada.
I would think I haven't seen the roster of in terms of scouts, so I'll keep an eye on that tonight.
I'm trying to look up who's actually in that group here.
There's Zach.
He's coming back slow.
Yes, slowly grinding, like Niagara Falls. Slowly.
There you go. It's like we beamed up half of them.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my internet.
You spoke too early, but so look at what's that, Act?
What'd you say? I didn't say anything. Good.
Okay, no, you were frozen there for a minute, and now it keeps going back to you with your head down. So we're looking at your. Anyway, go ahead, Russ. What were you saying?
No, I'm looking it up. It's interesting. They're not listing who the scouts are. They're just saying that, involved in Hockey Canada is Armstrong, Holland, Francis, all the names. So I guess you would have to look on the sheet and just see if anybody says Hockey Canada. It didn't say the other day in Philly, there was nobody listed for Hockey Canada, but they have to have scouts doing these games so they know who to pick. And this should be the prime time of the year to do it. So you're probably going to have quite a few there. That's my guess.
Well, I mean, one of the big names I'm hearing now mentioned a lot is Tom Wilson. And
yeah, Tom Wilson's getting mentioned.
He's starting to pick up momentum. I'm with Marner going down. I think that.
But Marner's going to be back at the end of December.
Yeah, there's somebody today I talked to that say that would be Wilson over Marner, which I think is insane. But I'm just telling you that is somebody from a very high up scale.
Me, because I'm pulling for the United States.
Yeah,
pray that is the case.
Yeah,
and they take Tom Wilson over Mitch Marner.
Yeah, you know,
all Americans should be praying for this right now.
You know why? Okay, you know why there might be a move to have Tom Wilson in the Canadian lineup, because the U.S. are going to have Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. That's why. They're going to have big physical forwards, and they're going to need a response. And
you'll take away one of the best forwards out there. That would be great.
Honestly, I don't think, unless Marner is severely, if his effectiveness is severely affected by the injury, which it's not a major injury. It's not like a blown knee. It's a mild shoulder separation, which is going to keep him out about 3 to 4 weeks.
Another battle that seems to be coming down to things is the Morgan Riley versus Dougie Hamilton battle. I've heard that too.
That's a good battle.
Well,
that one,
I'll tell you, Morgan Riley. I joked yesterday in my column, on Twitter, that I'm sure the Leafs are very happy that they got Morgan Riley signed to that deal, because he's got, I think, 19 or 20 assists already. He had 4 assists against Columbus. He's having.
I'll tell you, me personally, I would take Riley over Hamilton, because Riley can give me enough offense. I know Hamilton's better offensively, but his defense is much better than Hamilton. And so,
agreed.
In the end, that's the decision I would make. But I get why there's an argument.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is a solid. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's a really. My internet's so funny.
Well, there you go. You and Frank are on the same page, Jack.
You guys saw that. So I'm trying. It's not even showing up on my thing, but yeah. So as you guys know for sure that I don't read Frank. But anyway, that's pretty funny. So that was projected. That is something that's just out there right now. Among like there's no question. It's like and then nothing.
It's easy to make that argument now with Marner hurt, but Marner. It's not like Marner's not going to be back until February. He's going to be back probably before New Year's Eve. So if he has a bad January, because. I mean, okay, more than likely it's going to be, because I think the deadline is January 10th for the NHL to say whether they're going to participate. I don't know when the deadline is for the final roster to be selected, but I would assume it's probably the middle of January, because they're heading.
It's in the past, Mike. It has been the first, like January 1st. Like that's when that's in the past. That's where it's been. I mean, because if you remember what we used to have, like there would be a Winter Classic announcement. Remember this? There would be like a Winter Classic Olympic announcement we had one time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it was in Michigan.
Yeah, it was
generally the 1st of January when you hear about that's when the Olympic teams are set. But that brings up Jack Eichel, who is skating.
Well, hold on. Before Eichel, a good argument would be the goaltending situation. I'm sorry, Mike. I coughed like a human.
No, it wasn't you. It was something else.
Okay. The argument would be, I watched Marc-Andre Fleury intently the other night, right? Mm. And he is moving around very well. His defense is lousy in front of him. Carter Hart has the same problem, but I don't think both can make the team.
No,
I think in the end you have to decide on one or the other of those guys, because you can make excuses for both of them and both their teams, but you still have to have some rock solid goaltending. And Flyers fans may not like this, but Hart's been okay this year. He's been better than last year. But he hasn't been worthy of being a starter. So then again, are you going to carry him just to carry him? That's what you have to, consider.
I mean, I think they have to go with Marc-Andre Fleury, to be honest. I mean, I think that to me it's a no-brainer. And that that he's.
And it might turn out that way. It might.
Because I mean, if you get in a situation where things aren't going well, you can, and if Fleury's not the starter, which he probably won't be, but if you get in that situation where things aren't going well, Fleury's the guy that you definitely want to bring in.
a lot of experience.
I honestly think that there's right now of the 3 goalies for Team Canada, there's only one that is a definite, and that's Binnington.
Right.
Because Armstrong, because he's one of
scary proposition for Canada.
No, but I'm not saying he's the starter though. I'm saying he'll be one of the 3. Then you're talking about probably talking about a combination of Hart, Blackwood, Kemper, Carey Price if he's
in 2010 wasn't the argument, is it Luongo or Brodeur that's starting?
Yeah. Right. It was the same argument in 2002. They started with Cujo and then they went to Brodeur. And in
2010, I saw the whole thing. The thing fell apart for Brodeur.
When he lost to the LA. Or when he lost to the USA.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault. Yeah. And it all happened on one play that was like, it was really interesting. It was a situation where, when I wrote about the time, if Niedermayer is the defenseman that comes back, the puck goes behind the net, Brodeur goes back and gets it. If Niedermayer is the defenseman coming back, who knows Brodeur, he waits on the boards for Brodeur. Instead, there was the defenseman from Canada comes back like it's just every other goalie, and Brodeur, and there ends up being a crisscross signal thing, and that ends up causing the goal. And that one play right there was the difference between. And I thought Brodeur should have been playing over Luongo. I mean, there was obviously a lot of popularity for Luongo there in Vancouver.
I think X right about this in the sense that Fleury is probably the better guy to take cold off the bench.
Yeah, by far. You got his experience, and also the fact that he has just been such money in the playoffs. Like he even last year, like he was money in the playoffs. I mean, he beats Colorado. Colorado wins that series with any other goalie in there. Fleury wins that series. So like to me, he's money, and if he's playing this well, Binnington is so up and down. And also so emotional. Like Binnington's an emotional goalie, which I don't want in a situation like this.
The Blues are a good team because of Binnington too, Ak.
Yep.
They are, but it's a different pressure on Binnington, the Blues versus Team Canada.
I think it's going to be Fleury, Binnington, and Hart, or Fleury, Binnington, and Blackwood, some combination like that.
I think it's going to be Fleury, Binnington, and Blackwood. I think that's the way it's going to, because I think Blackwood, the Devils, I think would be okay with Blackwood getting the experience. I don't know if the Flyers would want Carter Hart to go as the 3rd anyhow.
I think they would.
I
think they would right now just because the season, because it would be like a confidence boost to him. Like you got to give him I think it's okay to do that. I think Blackwood's got a really good shot. I do. He's playing so well right now.
I mean, Blackwood's playing a little better than Hart. There's no question about that.
I mean, we don't know if his Price said he's definitely not going. Is that something?
We haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard a thing.
I mean, until he says he's not going, Price is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, he just, I guess yesterday he was on the ice for like the first time. So
hey, look, I'm with Tony Soprano. I would love to see David Ayers on Team China. That would be great. He's not playing for Kunlun, so he probably can't port over.
Team China, man. I know.
It's like we talked about the other day. There's actually more players than you realize. Because if they're allowing the Kunlun players, they do have 3 or 4 guys that have almost NHL ability or had some NHL ability and they're older. So they do have about 3 or 4 decent players.
Well, talk about a friggin'
talk about against McDavid.
Talk about a travesty.
Think about the line they're playing against there that they're going to play. It's at the end of the day. Come on.
Talk about a travesty is the fact that the Chinese government probably put pressure on the IIHF to get them on in that tournament.
And want their pictures to be taken on the ice. That's a victory.
Why
would they want their players to be embarrassed though? That's like not like the Chinese government.
Right. No, they don't care about that. But I hope Canada and the US beat them 84-0. I really do.
Yeah. Heck, they'll write about how they've risen to the level of being able to be in this tournament because their fans aren't going to know the difference. Be realistic.
I think given an afternoon, I could put a team together that could play against them. Just
I don't know. I played on your team. I challenged
people I know.
As long as
on your team, and I played more minutes than I expected to. So I think your team was
you did. You logged a lot of minutes.
The first thing is you'll have to find a goalie.
No, stop.
Oh,
no. Eck was good.
Thank you,
I'm going to back him, and he was good in the outdoor game. Actually.
Thanks.
The problem with the outdoor game was you really had no defense in front of you. I don't want to throw people under the bus.
Well, no, I did. Yeah, that Penguins team was so used to play that like Penguins media team has played in so many outdoor games that was like
they had 2 lines that knew exactly what they were doing.
They were crazy good. I mean, compared to like what we were throwing out there. And Jason Margonis was like running the show, so I could.
Jason Martinez, he played okay. He didn't outplay you by a lot, though.
Nice,
didn't.
I appreciate it. I gave up less goals than him, by the way.
And I'm honest. I'm honest.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think he is. I mean, he's played a lot more recently than I have.
Jason's a good goalie.
Yeah, he's a good goalie, but I think given half.
Oh no!
But you're both aging goalies. That's the point.
We lost that.
We did. But Anthony Mingione and I were basically on the bench. We were like right at the bench level, and so we got to see everything in that game. And yeah, the Pittsburgh team had some ringers.
Yeah, I couldn't perform in any of those media games because I have a permanent torn ACL. So
Mike, you've been using that excuse since I started this show.
Yes, well,
I've never seen Michael Jello run, and I probably never will.
No, you never will. Well, that's a sight that is will be unseen forever. Now, apparently, last night the best game of the night was the game on TNT, the Dallas Vegas game. Did you catch any of that?
I started to watch it, and my eyes were kind of getting droopy, so I stayed away from it. But it's one of those games where this is where I think Vegas has an edge over a team like Dallas because they have their really good players are just a little bit better than Dallas's really good players, and that's because of injury for Dallas. Like Seguin's not the same, Ben's not the same. So I do think they have a little bit of edge there. But again, it was a good game. I mean, I didn't get to watch it though. I didn't.
I just messaged.
And another thing, which I think Tony Soprano will agree with, I don't think they're trading Klingberg. He had another 2 points in that game. If they trade Klingberg, they better be getting something tremendous back. Even though he's not good defensively, he's a really terrific offensive defenseman.
He is, but the issue here is can they sign him? And if they can't sign him,
but they have to let him play through. Otherwise, you're not making the playoffs if you trade John Klingberg.
Yeah, but you know what, Russ? I mean, I get that, but that's sort of like the Matt Sundin dilemma back about 12 years ago. Okay, the Leafs could make the playoffs, but they're more than likely they're not going to, and Sundin is a UFA. Well, you have to trade him because honestly, if you don't know whether you can sign him or not, or if you don't know if he's going to retire or not, in the case of Sundin, you have to make that deal for asset management purposes. I mean,
I see Seguin scored in that game, so that's good. But when you have Stone and Pacioretty back, that's formidable. It is.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's funny that Dallas is sort of pulled back from the brink when they I think it was like mid-November where they hadn't won a game in regulation, and now they're one of the hottest teams in the league. It's just it's ironic that
and Holtby faced 45 shots. My God.
Yeah, and again, I saw reported today that Bishop is starting his first game down in the American Hockey League. I'd like to know how they're going to handle this, because
I know what's going to happen, Mike. He's going to be coming up.
No, what I think is going to happen is he's not going
to get traded somewhere.
No. What I think is going to happen is they're not going to medically clear him. I think they're going to say
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Tell the doctor that his knee is not good.
I don't. What's funny? I don't think Bishop will go along with that.
Of course he won't. I'm sure he wants to play. I mean, do I see a team out there that has and the problem here with this situation is Bishop's got another year left in his contract. If he was a expiring contract and they'd agreed to retain salary, then I think they could move him. But the problem is that he's got another year. If they retain salary, it's retaining salary on both years. And I don't know whether, there's a team out there that is willing to take that risk. I mean, there might be teams out there that are willing to take him on if he was an LTIR guy, because they need the room. But
so we need to talk about Colorado. They destroyed the Rangers. The Rangers had Adam Huska in net, who's a good guy. He is not really an NHL caliber goalie, but I'm glad he got his chance because he's worked really hard over the years. He played at UConn. We saw him, remember, Mike, in the World Juniors? He faced like 57 shots.
Right.
And I think he won that game, actually. If he didn't win, it was a close loss, and he still faced like 57 shots. This game, what you take out of this game is Colorado put up another 7 spot. Like they're scoring goals and buckets now. 6 goals, 7 goals. This is like their second 7-goal game this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I saw them last week in Toronto when McKinnon just came back, and I think he was a little rusty after being out for, I think it was 3 weeks or so. But now they got that 1-2 punch with McKinnon and Kadri up the middle. And, we know Kadri was having a really good offensive year. He's of course he's doing that in his walk year so he can make big money. But, Landeskog and McKinnon and
Logan O'Connor had 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean they're really, and right, they're getting help from their depth too. So, they're the team that I think we thought they were going to be. I just think right now the thing that is questionable, and we know Kemper played last night against the Rangers, is, can he stay healthy? Because if Kemper's healthy, then their goaltending is fine. But right now,
Kadri was a +4 with 3 points. Sam Girard had 2 points. Devin Taves, I have to tell you, he's playing the best hockey of his career. I know Islander fans don't want to hear it. I'm not saying it for that reason, but when I saw him the other night, the way he's bringing the puck up the ice with the confidence and everything else, we knew it was a tremendous pickup for him, but it's even better than we thought it would be. So
now
they maybe have the best puck-moving defense core in the league.
Yeah. Now, last night, Jacob Trouba not put another notch on his belt by whacking Nathan McKinnon, and Landeskog came into his.
He fought him.
Yeah, he fought him, and I was impressed that Landeskog held his own because Trouba's a pretty decent fighter.
Yeah, and Trouba's gotten big over the years. Like, he is a strong guy. He always was strong, but now he's even stronger. So that was a tough one. That was a tough tilt.
Yeah, but the question I have is, this is like right on the heels of the Kara hit. It's like, is all of a sudden Trouba becoming Scott Stevens? All of a sudden,
no, he's been doing this for the last 2 years, especially since they got rid of Brendan Smith. He has filled the role as physical defenseman. Bill C can call it another scummy hit, but considering the Bruins and the defensemen they've had over the years and the players they have taking shots, I'm not sure the Bruins should talk. But is some of his stuff on the edge? Absolutely.
Right.
But again, if you want to be a winning team, Gerard Gallant is going to want him to play that way. Like, that's just the way it is. He is the guy that has to play that way. Right.
Yeah, and the other game from last night was Vancouver beating Boston 2-1. I mentioned earlier now Boudreau is 2-0. If you can get their heads straightened on, and
they're 2-0, Mike.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'm sure all the fans in Vancouver will be, satiated when it comes to their recent success, but I think it's going to take a little longer than that to get them. Now, what did you have for the post show here, Russ?
For the post show, so I wanted to talk about. I'm wearing my Jet hat because Zach Wilson won the Rookie of the Week again for the second time this year. Now, when you get picked, who did? In just the Pepsi Rookie of the Week.
Okay.
So I think it's offensive rookie. I think they do offense and defense.
Right.
I remember interviewing Fletcher Cox once when he won the Defensive Rookie of the Week. Anyhow, that's a long time ago. Point is, Mac Jones hasn't won this award. Now Mac Jones is having a better year, and nobody in the quarterback class has won it twice. The basic point of this is it's easy to just bury a kid because he's playing for the Jets. They're not a great team. The record's not great, but he does have that arm talent. Like, I like Sam Darnold because of his legs, but Wilson's got this arm talent that's just crazy good. And so the fact is, even some Jet fans are already starting to bail out. And my basic point is, if you're a prospect guy with the NFL, like if I was covering the NFL as a prospect guy, it's literally the hardest job in the world because people want to write off a guy after like a half a season after you drafted him second overall. So anyhow, back to that.
Yeah, we're
crazy stupidness.
Yeah, well, we should end it in a minute, but I just want to say Elliot Friedman reported that Rutherford is president and interim GM. So
So
this will be up to Rutherford whether or not he stays. Is that what the deal is?
No. What I think, honestly, if based on what has been reported before, and based on what I think, Russ was accurately talking about, they probably want to hire Tulsky, but they can't because Dundon won't let him go. So they're going to wait until the end of the year, and then hire him then.
Yep.
All right. Well,
that's probably the play.
I mean, it would make some sense that Rutherford did that because the reality is, they
need trades right now. They don't necessarily
right. And he doesn't have to fire. He doesn't have to worry about getting fired. That's the big thing, I think that he didn't like the way things went down in Pittsburgh. From what I was told.
And the reason is because Tom Dundon is, I won't say what he is, but he's not going to let the guy go for nothing, like Russ said. And if I don't think it's legal anymore for a team to trade.
There's always a trade to be made or something else that you could disguise it.
Yeah, maybe
it's not technically legal, but I think that I think that Russ is right there. There's there's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more type moment there.
Yeah,
we're waiting for it. And that does happen in the NHL. It just does. It happens in every.
I mean, look, Rutherford is a former Carolina guy.
Yeah.
So I would think that he would play ball with Dundon. I would think that.
Yeah. And one other note: the Leafs and Jason Spezza have appealed the 6-game suspension for the hit on Neil Pionk. The general, and of course the consensus around, I think the Toronto media is pretty even-handed, but a lot of them think that this was, and I do as well, that it was a little hot, a little too much.
Yeah, it'll go down to 4 games.
Right.
Especially given Spezza's history of not doing anything like that.
But this is the thing. With the suspension over 5 games, it goes to Bettman.
Right.
And he makes the decision, and then if there's no change, it goes to an independent arbitrator. Now, it won't change because Bettman will never go against his own Department of Player Safety.
Right.
So
there is one more story too, Mike. Yesterday, Larry Brooks wrote this fantasy article, but it could happen where the Rangers get Patrick Kane. And so if the Rangers do try and get Patrick Kane, though, it's going to cost a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the Rangers are at the point yet, unless Kravtsov is in the deal, where they'll have the assets to trade and not lose too much to actually be able to do something. That's the only problem where the Rangers are at right now.
Okay. Here is what I would say. If Kravtsov is in the deal, that's not going to be enough.
No.
Yeah. It's gonna have to be Kako or Lafreniere.
Right. It'll be one of those two and more.
And
Chicago, more.
And Chicago will have to retain 50%.
I don't know about that. I don't think
Lafreniere and Kravtsov, it's pretty cool. You're pretty much got it.
But it's not there. They're still going to want a defenseman too.
I don't know whether the Rangers could fit Kane's $10.5 million contract for 1 year. They would have to retain something.
With the Rangers have Schneider coming, I would think one of either Lundqvist
or Miller
would have to be in that deal.
That I could see, yeah. Just for cap stuff, but
well, they're on the
because Chicago needs defense and Patrick Kane's worth this. I think that's He has another year on the deal, doesn't he?
Yes, 1 more year. Both him and Taves.
So essentially, this is like the Marty St. Louis deal all over again.
Right.
Him and this year and next year.
Him and Taves have 1 more year at 10.5.
Really interesting if Patrick Kane would do that. I wonder if he would.
Well, to play with Panarin, he might.
I think he might, yeah. And also just to come to, I mean, playing for the Rangers is a thing. People love that. Players definitely, he would play for 2 of the iconic original 6 teams, and that's something. I mean, I think he would probably love it.
He's not going to Buffalo, I'll tell you that.
Not right now. Nope. Although Buffalo is going to finish 6th place.
Just to answer Bill C, I do think there's a market for Jake DeBrusk. I do. I think what the Bruins are probably looking for is some sort of player-for-player swap in that. That's what I think they're looking for, because they can't afford to lose DeBrusk for a draft pick or a prospect that doesn't get put in the lineup. They need somebody they can put back in the lineup.
Before we go, I did write today about Korpisalo as well, we talked a little bit about it before, but it is coming up more and more now. and that there is a little bit of a rush going on this because what's happening essentially is the feeling is Rask comes back to Boston. There could be a goalie available in that situation. Probably not. They probably are just sending Swayman back, but it's possible that there's other situations there. If
well, they're not
comes up in Dallas, there's definitely a goalie available there.
I mean, Boston's not going to trade Ullmark with 3 years left at $5 million.
No, probably not. But I think the idea here is that this is the time that Korpisalo's value might be at its greatest because he's alone on the market. Fleury's not out there yet. Price isn't out there yet. So I think that Columbus would be smart to do something soon, and they've been talking. I've been told to Colorado and to Philly about this, and I think that both teams make some sense. Whether or not and the thing about Korpisalo that's a little different than Fleury is that you're getting a backup for sure. You're getting a backup 1A, right? So
it does make sense for Colorado for the reasons we discussed. It doesn't make any sense for Philadelphia because
Philly trading Martin Jones makes $2 million, so which is already too much. They can't afford Korpisalo.
Well, they would have Martin Jones would probably go back. It would probably be a situation where they would send Martin Jones back along with draft picks, and it would be end up with that kind of. That's why I would
do that. I don't know why they would do that.
But to what end? Philadelphia is.
You can sit there and say that you think Philly is done.
Yes.
I can sit there and say that I think Philly is done, but I'm telling you that the Flyers do not think Philly is done.
Well, then they're dumb.
Okay, but and we're not saying they're done, but okay, if you're going with that case. And so then they're going to basically admit Martin Jones was not a good signing. They're going to overpay to try and fix that to get more wins from their backup goalie. Is that really what they're looking at here?
That's what they're looking at.
I mean, the only saving grace in this.
So what else is your option? What else do you do?
The only saving grace in this act is if they do something like that, then when they do realize that they're done, they can trade Korpisalo and recoup the draft picks that they trade.
If they get Korpisalo, they won't trade him before the deadline. That wouldn't happen.
Well, he's
I'm just saying. I'm not right or wrong. The reality is that they are not in tank mode at all. They're not in the mode they at least as of now. Now, whether or not that changes, I mean, maybe I shouldn't sit there and say they wouldn't trade Korpisalo for the deadline. Maybe they would trade Korpisalo.
Well, they have to if they're at the bottom.
But I think, if they could get anything going, perhaps they would. But I think that they still feel like they have enough to compete for a playoff spot, and they're going to compete for a playoff spot in their minds. So that's where they're at.
We have a minor trade in the NHL between the Leafs and Blackhawks.
Okay.
Curtis Gabriel, who played with San Jose last year, tough guy. He signed with Toronto because he's from the Toronto area, but he did not make the team, so he was playing for the Marlies. But I think he's an NHL player. The Leafs traded him to Chicago for Chad Chris.
Yeah, Chris he's a guy that was, I think, a second or third round pick. His speed never got as good as it could get. His offense never got as good as it can get. He was with the U.S. program. There was a lot of promise there, and so. If they could get his speed better, he does have vision and puck moving ability. So this could be good for them if they could, get him to be a more at NHL speed.
I think
somebody Austin Matthews would have played with.
Yes.
I think this was a trade to accommodate Gabriel because I think Gabriel signed with the Leafs at the intent that he was going to be in the NHL. He didn't make the NHL. He cleared waivers, and I think they basically said, okay, we're gonna, you're a good guy, and he wanted to play for the team that he rooted for, but he wants to play in the NHL. So I think that was more to accommodate him than Chris could be somebody that they like. But,
Eck, I want to debate this with you, but you're the Flyers, you're not Eck. So Martin Jones has won 3 out of his 8 starts, which I agree is not great. However, let's just say he won 6 out of his 8, and they weren't thinking about making this move. So if we're talking about 6 more points, they're still out of a playoff spot. Like, what are we talking about here?
Right. 6 more points. They are, it's a matter of stopping the bleeding. You know what I mean? It's like, at some point you have to.
He's not going to score goals for them, though.
No, I mean, but he's just the confidence that comes from a goalie that you don't have any confidence in. Like the rest of your team, the way that works, it's just they have a situation where the games it's funny, he has, so you say he's won 3 games,
Yeah.
It really feels like the way they talk about him, like he's won more than that, like he's like the way you hear, people talking about him on
I know. I agree with that.
It's like he has not done that much, and he has not done that well. And in the 3 games he's won, he's gotten a little bit lucky as well. So like the reality is, his confidence. He just makes the team play a different way than they play with heart. And you can't have your backup be that different. You can't have your backup be a totally different game.
But it's affecting Hart too. He's only got a .911 save percentage. It's not like the same defense is going to exist for Korpisalo that it does for Jones.
Yeah, but Korpisalo,
Connaughton, it's a little better, and maybe Connaughton has some knowledge of Korpisalo, so at least you got somebody that knows him, so maybe you get a little boost from that. But
yeah, I mean, I think the Korpisalo is just like way more athletic. He's way more. Martin Jones.
He is more athletic than Jones. I'll give you that. That's fair.
He just comes off as being more skilled. Like if you're Flyers players, you're in a practice, you've got Jones in there, you got Korpisalo in there. It's just
Korpisalo just has points. Philly would be tied with Boston, Columbus, and just ahead of New Jersey, and they'd all still be out of the playoffs.
Yeah, but they're all in the race in that case. Like they're all.
No, I know, I get it.
So it's like that's why this team looks at like
you realize that, and I know this isn't you, but you realize this year is the most dangerous year for the Flyers going forward, because if they really do still believe they're in it and trade any more assets or lose any more assets and go trying to achieve that goal and don't achieve it, how much that will affect them for the next couple of years. Because it will.
You're right.
I mean, the players aren't developing at a quick enough pace as is.
Right. I mean, they've got to maintain those guys from the Cam York era.
Right.
They got to keep those guys around and not move those guys right now to make themselves better, because they have something there with a couple really good players.
And they're in between. They're not ready yet, but they're close, but they're not ready yet.
Yeah, so, they're like a year. Some of them are
a year and a half. It depends.
Away, right? I mean, although I think that there is a good chance that we could see York up here pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't think so. Only because, look, you may be right. I wouldn't do it because he hasn't exhibited anything in Lehigh to show me that. I would bring up Zamula before I brought up York.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
Yeah,
I would let York have more time to develop, especially now since COVID. You really should give him more runway.
Yeah, that could very much change things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Mike, enjoy the game tonight up there in Toronto. And we will be back again tomorrow for the big Friday show. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will all talk to you then. Enjoy your night.